word struck me, even as the budget is being introduced. Unravel the mystery of the budget? Demystify, yeah, demystify the budget. I thought I could take that little one credit for making the budget simple, so that as it is read, you'll be able to understand what is there. I've not really woven a mystery giving budget. And so demystifying, no, the intention in the last few years, if I can start with that, is the budget should be simple enough when read for everyone to understand and for everyone to pick on that one which is of more importance for her or him. And in a way, I felt in this budget, also for being concise, in that I read only 87 minutes and not 2.5 hours. So making it concise, making it precise, and making it clear and simple was one thing which I thought I would probably put across to you, saying it is one of the features of the budget. But when I was asked to demystify, no, that is not a claim I can make now. So no, it's okay. So that's not a claim I can now make. So I'll have to try more then. So, but the idea is that it was very clearly a guidance which I had received from the Prime Minister, that the momentum on growth should not be relaxed or diluted. If anything, there should be greater accent for that growth which we want to sustain at a good level, and also ensure that public expenditure will continue and at a higher level, so that we are able to keep anchoring on multiplier effect. And that is why the root of the public expenditure for capital infrastructure building programs, like the last year's budget, like the previous year's budget. So consistently for the last 3-4 years, the emphasis is being given for public capital expenditure. So we've kept that up. And how? 30% last year, 30% this year, actual increase. And for the first time, I suppose in so many years, have we reached a double-digit amount going for capital expenditure. So that clearly can be said as a real focus of this budget. And also because with capital expenditure, you're able to have the multiplier, it has a spread, it touches core industries, you're able to ensure that the money goes to the right places and so on. But even with that done, inclusion, make sure those who are really in that league of the population who still need a lot of hand-holding, we will continue with the free food program this whole year, just so nobody's left without, food in the family. And with inclusion also somewhat taken care of, MSME had to receive the major focus, because they are the ones who are actually being the backbone of the Indian economy, and also institute job creators. For one large unit being located in any one place because of various different scales of advantage that they can have, and MSME is spread all over the country, and wherever they are, they create local employment. So MSMEs have all been always in our mind since 2020, when the pandemic hit us. And each year after that, we have ensured that we give fiscal support as well as ease of doing business. And we're also working together with the states and with the third tier, which is the panchayat or the ward level administrations, to make sure that MSME priorities are kept on the top of the agenda. A festering problem for the MSME has been payments don't reach them in time. Big industries, whether they are public sector or private, delay payments beyond 45 days. And therefore, this budget addresses that as well, because we've always been nudging industries, inclusive of public sector undertakings, nudging them to say, please do not delay payments which are due beyond the 45-day reasonable limit. And over and above the nudging, we've now come to say that you can't, those who have dues to pay for the MSMEs can't really take advantage of set-offs in that financial year. The year in which you actually pay them is the year in which you can actually claim set-offs. So MSME from various different angles have been given priority, and the accelerator fund, which is also being created, will also help the MSMEs. So capital expenditure, inclusion, MSME, and looking at various sectors which need to have the advantage of the size that they have. Women empowerment, because the SHG groups in the villages are actually into a lot of critical activity. Today, and also in the earlier budgets, we have given provision for SHG women's groups, who are more than 81 lakh groups in the country, for them to have greater access of resources, professional assistance, linkage with markets, and if they are in service sectors, so be it, for them to carry on with activities. Branding and market finding are also getting added to their portfolio. With that, we expect that a women true empowerment will happen for them to be able to scale up into very professionally run, profit earning, government supported women's groups. So that emphasis is being given for empowering women in the rural areas. Again, on the skilling, there's not one, but several items that we've brought into the skilling area, particularly looking at Industry 4.0, which will have a direct bearing on members of the chamber seated here. Because today, if you're moving from one level of technology to a higher level of technology, because today artificial intelligence is going to play a big role, and you can benefit by using technology and advancement in technology for your business. Most often I've heard people tell us that, yes, we are investing more to upgrade our technological components in your activity. We face the situation of people with appropriate skill sets not being available. Are they technically competent? The people who are applying for the jobs? Maybe not. And therefore, that is an issue which we often hear from industry. So in order to have people be trained in technology appropriate skills, so that they can look at industries which are moving fast towards Industry 4.0, the kind of skill sets that they need will be promoted, will be actively brought in, and therefore the next generation employees will be readied this year, and that they will be available for those industries which want that level of skilled manpower to get them in time. So if that is one focused area of technology-driven skill upgradation, there are also skill upgradation programs in this budget for other levels of skilling which is so required. And there is that one section of India which still thinks that there's so much of demand for their skills abroad, but they fall short because they don't have the necessary training which is so required in the concerned language or in the concerned awareness about that country's socio-economic requirements. So for instance, there's always this demand for chartered accountants abroad, nurses abroad, physiotherapists abroad, and also for services in aggregation abroad, for aggregation of very many different things. One big handicap Indian workers find, professionals find, as opposed to those going from Philippines or Thailand or any such country, is they are language competent, whereas ours is not. So we are trying to bring in training for our youth for international job markets. So even that's been provided in this budget. Overall, if these are being attended from the human side, we are also trying to bring in various levels of moving forward in agriculture. You heard that we'll want to have the farmers look at becoming also those who produce electricity, use solar panels in your fields, also use it for yourself, and if you have surplus, sell it, and we take it through the grid. Such enabling provisions are being made for not just agriculture, people in agriculture, but also for farmers who are simultaneously engaging in dairying, fishing activities. We're also supporting people who are setting up, along with the farmers, piggeries or growing any other animal which they would eventually want to sell in the market. So we've actually pared down on segments which normally get covered under a larger umbrella, but get left out because they're a minute segment of the larger category. So we've gone down to the extent of saying for them, under each of the silos which get covered otherwise under a larger umbrella. The emphasis through the PLI continue. The sunrise sectors are being given the same importance as we've given it last year as well. That is to encourage the China +1 and now the Europe +1 as well. Renewable energy commitments to the commitments made in Scotland, and therefore committing ourselves to fulfill those nationally determined goals are also finding place in this budget. The states have to be a part of this capital expenditure, and therefore the last year's amount, which was 1 lakh crore, which is given to the states as per a formula given by the Finance Commission for tax devolution, that's used here as well. That devolution of the 50-year interest-free loan for capital expenditure also gets covered this year, but this time it is not 1 lakh crore, it's 1,30,000 crores for the states, wherein about 80% of it, 85% of it would 80% of it would go for the states without any conditions attached, but 20 other percent will go with different layers of conditions of reforms attached. We want to gently nudge states to carry on with some reforms which they had undertaken earlier, whether it is the power sector, whether it is the one nation, one ration card, and so on. Also looking at panchayats planning for municipal bonds. So these are getting added in the rest of the 20% as conditions that you get that so long as you do this and so on. So states are also being brought together to carry forward the capital expenditure because there's a great appetite in states. I can go on with every paragraph of the budget, but largely looking at sustaining growth through capital expenditure, not forgetting inclusion, not forgetting the necessity to keep our youth ready for job markets, but all this with fiscal consolidation. That fiscal consolidation for which we had given a roadmap, we are completely aligning ourselves with it. So if anything, I must credit the entire ministry for ensuring that we were able to give a budget which is fiscally responsible, but very clear on the target, that is growth has to be given the momentum. So that's how I can summarize the budget. I'm sure all of you have read it so many times, carved out paragraphs on which you can question the government. You're welcome. Thank you.